gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Crypto World Radio. My name is Wabi, and I'm here joined by a plethora of individuals that, are pretty enthusiastic about all things crypto and all things interoperability. And just as every Tuesday and Thursday, we have a Dow chemist helping me on these spaces. And yeah, we're just here to talk about the state of all things DeFi. And we're joined by White Whale. We're joined by a new friend of the show, Noah Seidman, who has some pretty amazing content. Feel free to follow him. And we're also joined by Animus Labs, one of our good friends that are building some stuff over at Bearchain. And we're also joined by the official Stargaze Zone account, which is pretty nice. We're also joined by Swift Protocol, and we're also joined by Matt Bell from the Nomic BTC team, which is an interesting protocol. And, I'm looking forward to hearing what he's building out. So, without further ado, we'll just go one by one and see how everybody is, and then we'll get started. So, for the individual behind the White Whale account, what's going on, brother? How you feeling, brother?
Hey, how we doing? It's
Doing
good to be
great, man.
here. Yeah,
Doing great, man. Just trying to keep my composure, man, because like when these spaces links, like they don't work, it's just a downer, bro. It's just a downer, but gonna make the best of it, man. Gonna make the best of it. I tried really fucking hard um just to set this up, but as long as we have like most of you up here, man, I'll be happy. So gonna make the
yeah,
most of it, man. Gonna make the most of it, brother.
yeah. Well, we're here. We're here,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
might as
Didn't
well
get
give it a
liquidated.
go.
Didn't get liquidated, bro. Just took
That's
a small loss. But yeah, we're also joined by Noah. What's going on, Noah? How you feeling today, brother? If if you want, Noah, feel free to introduce yourself and all those things as well.
Sure. Long day. Exhausted down here in Miami territory. The sun is hot. The traffic is miserable, but we do what we do. So I got to talk. I got to talk about the things that I like, the things that I do, and I am a purveyor of rationality in a space, the crypto space, which obviously has a little bit of a lack of rationality. So we try and peer through the bullshit, peer through the madness to see what these systems really are, how they fit into the greater financial landscape, how they respond to the macro financial pressures, and what is really the significance in the things that we're building. So we'll see what's going on tonight.
Awesome, dude. I'm glad you're bringing that energy, brother. I'm glad you're bringing that energy, man. And yeah, the weather's definitely like it feels like the old school sauna way, not really the usual steam room that's like extreme humidity and all that stuff. Um, had some nitrogen ice cream. That was pretty dope. Yeah, those hit the spot on a hot day like this, brother.
Yes, indeed.
All right, now we'll go over to Animus Labs. What's going on, brother? Good to have you up, man.
Hey, what's going on? Good evening, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're doing good, man. Perfect, perfect.
Awesome, awesome. I wish I could agree with Captain, but the weather in upstate New York is not as nice. I can say that. But no, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me again. It's a pleasure to be with you guys. Um, yeah, I'm excited to see what everybody here's got going on.
Dow, how are you doing, brother?
Doing great, man. A little bit under the weather, but I couldn't miss this panel, man. Some heavy hitters, a lot of brain power on the panel. So I'm here to learn as much as hopefully bring my 2 cents. But yeah, I'm excited to be here, man.
Awesome, man. And we're also joined by CJ. Actually encouraged me to do a space like this the other day. What's going on, man? Glad to finally have you up here, bro.
Hey YB, sorry for rugging you so many times. You've invited me to a bunch of spaces, but my calendar's been pretty manic. But I'm glad to see Backbone Labs has joined us because I kind of dobbed them in to chat about what they've been up to too. So super pumped to hear what everyone's got to say today on the space. Thanks, man.
No problem, brother. Good to have you up. And a good surprise, as always, we're also joined by Soy from one of my favorite products in the crypto space, Neutron. Soy, welcome, brother. once again, how are you, man? The man with the hard questions, the man with the pressing questions,
Yeah,
straight to
that's
the
all
point.
great. That's all great until you're on the receiving end of those, right? But gotta put yourself in the firing line every now and again. No, but mate, it was like a really great space last week and stuff, wasn't it? So yeah, hope you can pull it off again.
All right, but we'll try, man. If you guys want to retweet the space, given that the I know the spaces that you guys had retweeted, we weren't able to set them live. So if you guys can retweet this space and just say like, "Yo, we're live" or something like that, I'd appreciate it. Just so we can have like, um, the people that subscribe to the space in here. But either way, we'll get the show on the road. Stargate Zone, how are you guys doing today?
Doing great. Thanks a lot for having us on. I'm excited to chat with you guys.
No doubt, no doubt. Swift Protocol, how are you guys doing? Welcome, welcome.
Hey guys, it's good to be here. I hope everyone's having a great evening, and thank you for having us. I am getting a little jealous of you all, though, talking about the great weather. It's like 0 degrees up here, so I'm happy for all of you.
Well, man, to counter that, my water heater broke yesterday, and that's going to be a multi-step process. Like that whole thing just has to be taken out and put back in. So, yeah, it feels like 1,000 knives, but you feel amazing after. Crazy how that goes, man. But um, yeah. But either way, Backbone Labs, how are you guys doing?
Chilling, active, and attractive in LA. What are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. And now we have Matt from Nomic BTC. That's a pretty interesting project. What's going on, brother?
Yo, what up? Thanks for having me on here. I haven't done that many Twitter spaces. Like I've joined a few, but I'm just curious to see how this goes. And so yeah, thanks for having me here.
No problem, man. Well, I guess we can get started. Let's get started immediately. So we'll start with White Whale. White Whale. Any updates with the roadmap? Any recent developments that are going on that you'd like to share with us, and also bring up any concerns or statements in the pulse of DeFi, as I like to call it.
Yeah, sure. Happy to just give a real quick update. Um, First of all, I don't know if you guys saw last week we had a pretty good pump. I know nobody cares about price here, right? We're all in it for the tech and all that. But I actually don't watch the price. I couldn't tell you what it's at today. I found out it was pumping. By the way, I'm Sebastian. I'm founder of White Whale. I found it was pumping because I looked on Twitter on my personal feed and everybody was all over the place posting it, but we had a pretty good pump. It was under 1 cent. It was about 1 cent, and then it pumped to about 3. I think we're trying to find support at like 2.5 cents right now, but we had a spaces. We hosted a spaces last Thursday, and we've been hosting them just as a team once a week on Thursdays, and we'll do another one this Thursday. So if you want to join for exclusive White Whale content, feel free. Shameless chill there. But we did one last Thursday, and that really was the catalyst. And I think part of it was just everybody realizing what our market cap is and how little it is. I mean, right now, we probably have less than 50 million tokens circulating, and we're working on an API. We're working on kind of a dashboard so we can show the real-time number. It's more complicated than it sounds, getting the actual live circulating supply number, but we're 50 million circulating is probably conservative, right? It might be closer to 35, 40. So at 2 cents, that's a 1 million market cap, right? So we're still at less than 1.5 million market cap at our current levels, which is just silly, to be honest. I mean, it's just silly. Like, if you look at Chihuahua, right? Chihuahua chain, who I love, I love Chihuahua. They're a meme chain on the Cosmos. If you don't know who they are, and they're sitting at I think 11, right, or 13 or 15 million market cap. something like that. Kujira, Juno, like these projects, right? So we're an L1, we're a new L1 Migaloo chain on the Cosmos, and we're leading the charge in integrating Alliance, and we could talk about what that is if you're not familiar. But basically, it's this shared security model. It's a new bleeding edge kind of model of where basically we can whitelist any assets that can be staked on our chain on top of Whale, right? So Backbone Labs is here. They have LSDs. They have like a B Luna, right? And we actually just passed today a prop to whitelist B Luna as a stakeable asset on Migaloo chain, right? So this is uncharted territory. This has never been done before, right? This is kind of the first breach into shared security for the Cosmos. So as of right now, this is alpha. This is as alpha as it gets. As of right now, you can actually stake your B Luna on Migaloo chain. And earn yield. Right now, you'd need to do it through the CLI right now, because our front end is rapidly getting developed. We actually thought TFL was going to have a front end ready to be able to do it there, and they're a little bit behind on it. So we're developing our own front end, which should be ready by the end of the week. Where you can go if you're not a dev, right? If you're not that tech savvy, you can go and you can stake your B Luna, to our chain and earn Whale, right? So effectively, what this means, right? And this is another thing that we talked about on our spaces last week, which got everybody fired up, right? The way the where we're headed long term, for our chain, if you stake Whale to Migaloo chain, you're going to earn not only Whale rewards, not only the Whale inflation, I think it's like 15% or something, but you're also going to earn a cadre of Apex assets. So you're going to earn Atom, right? Like an Atom LSD, a Luna LSD, a Juno LSD, an Injective LSD. All of these tokens, you're going to get your Whale rewards, but then you're also going to collect all of these other different Cosmos IBC, and they don't even have to be IBC tokens. We could whitelist ETH, right? We can whitelist ST ETH or a BTC derivative, right? So whatever we want, whatever the community decides to list, and there's a take rate on all of those, which goes to the Whale stakers. So you're going to stake Whale, and you're going to earn all of these. You're going to earn your Whale, right? And then you're going to earn all of these other Apex assets as well. So it's pretty cool stuff, right? And it's like I said, it's bleeding edge. It's very new, and today is the first day that we have a new whitelisted asset live. So that's the update I have for you.
Sebastian, just real quick, sorry, Wubby, if I'm jumping in, but to give people context that are on the space and may not know, before the death spiral of Terra, Sebastian, what was the market cap of Whale sitting at? Because I thought for some reason it was close to $1 billion. I know it was way bigger than what it is.
Yeah. We had 40 million TVL at one point before the crash. And we were trading, somewhere between, I would say, 8 and 12 cents. So if you call it 10 cents, right? We had a billion max supply, so right. So we were at 100 million. We were at 100 million FDV before the collapse of Terra, right? So, and obviously, that humbled everybody. We came out of it. We're one of the few teams that came out of it. We retooled, right? We recalibrated our model, went, decided to go cross chain, and then eventually launch our own train. But yeah, I mean, to go through something like that, I mean, we were right in the front row, you guys. I mean, we were in the front. I could talk about the Terra crash. I could share things, right? Because I got an insider look. We were protecting the peg. We were literally our V1 protocol was built to protect the peg, right? And unfortunately, during the crash, we had probably 25 mil TVL during the actual crash. 20 mil, you know, and that just wasn't enough, right? It just wasn't. I mean, there were all kinds of people trying to do what they could to protect it. But you know, we had a front row seat. We had a front row seat for that. And going through it, getting wrecked, you know, it was like a nuclear bomb, you know, going off on your head. And then rebuilding, you know, I'll say this, it's made us a resilient team, right? Like in crypto, you want your teams to be resilient, right? You want them to be galvanized, you want them to be bear proof, you know. They're not like, you know, we're not going anywhere because we've already been through the worst shit. You know, like if there was a time to rug, you know, it would have been then, right? When a bomb just blew up in our face. So like, you know, I think it's quite a testament, and it's a thing you want to look for if you're looking at teams, is their sort of resolve. So
Awesome, man. So we'll go over to Backbone, and then after that, we'll go on over to Stargaze and see and see what they're up to. Backbone, Sebastian did mention you guys, so we'll pass it on over to you. If you want
Yeah.
to chime into what he just
I-
said, brother. Good to have you up again, man.
Oh, right when I start talking, right? I love that. My mother calls me right in the middle of starting talking this. Can you guys hear me? I don't want to make sure I get cut off.
Yeah,
All
you're
right,
good.
cool.
You're good,
So
man. You're
what I
good.
wanted to say is
you should rug us. If I were you, I'd rug us for your mom.
nah.
That's cold.
She's on hold. She's for sure on hold right now. She could wait. I don't even care what it is. If she's calling, she's okay, right?
JJ, I'll speak to her. Put her on my
No,
put her
I
on my
already
call.
denied the call. Don't worry about it. So this is the point, right? Like,
Add her as a speaker. Add your mom as a speaker.
imagine she would be like,
Let's get
"Oh,
her.
do you
Let's
want to
get her up
come
here.
over for dinner?" Oh man.
I want to hear her thoughts on the macro landscape.
Hey, can I tell you something? Sometimes she asks me, she goes, "So, are we staking?" Right? And I'm like, "What do you mean, are we staking?" She's like, "Well, are we earning APY?" She just like throws like random statements. I think that like she hears me discuss with my father sometimes, you know, or it's really funny. It's funny. It's cute. It's cute.
Yeah, ma.
It's
Yeah,
cute.
we're
We're
staking, ma.
staking that tenderloin steak. You know, but look, but I think it's really important to point a couple things out, especially for what White Whale is doing. You know, Backbone Labs and White Whale, we are kind of born in the same fire and brimstone of the crash. Okay, so they definitely resonate with us. Known Sebastian for a while, and you know, there's no VCs over in Migloo. I hope you guys understand that. It is all community, all community. They don't have any big venture capitalists. They're not pushing any big dollars. They validate a lot of chains, and this is how they got it going on in the bear market, right? They're grinding like us. So Backbone Labs, what are we doing? We are fusing DeFi with NFT communities for management and products and revenue sharing, right? So right now, our example model on Luna, we have produced a over collateralized token in LSD, B Luna. This is a revenue producing product that we've developed, and we it's a 100% pass through on all fees generated back to the community on Luna. So 30% go to the SP stakers. And that just went live the other day. So rewards are going to go to an NFT community for staking and voting on this platform. What does this do for us? We feel this addresses two things. Like, we think NFTs are a crucial piece of the market, of culture, and where finance is going. We feel there's also a better retention of participation in NFT communities over people who just hold governance tokens. So we're incentivizing these people to revenue share with us, to earn with us, and we've given them control of the Luna Gravedigger. We are on a path with White Whale. You know, they are launching all these hubs all throughout the IBC right now, fast, very rapidly. We are trying our very best to keep up, and right now we have 4 Gravediggers live. We have Injective and Comdex and Neutron planned, and I think Archway on the list, Sebastian, or my
Spoiler alert, the next one is the next place we're going is Stargaze. They're here right now. Does where is our prop up to deploy on Stargaze yet? I don't know if the Stargaze guy knows or not. I don't know. We were supposed to put a gov prop up today, I think. Do you know by any chance?
There's not a governance prop for
Okay.
Stargaze yet, but
Okay.
last I heard, it may be next week.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, then there's some fresh alpha too. But yeah, that's the next place we're going to deploy is on Stargaze. So small world.
And so look, so let me just jump back into this real fast. Our model is NFT community paired with Gravedigger management, which is producing an LSD on a chain. Our our ethos is in a world of parachains, we want to give chains their own identity and ensure that certain on-chain functions are happening on chain, certain metrics are still retained on the chain, and then whatever the tokens or the assets go after that, that's fine. Anybody does what they want with it, but I really believe that there's a certain loss when you just eject something to another chain instantly before actually uh, having some action on it, right? It doesn't help. So we are honored to participate and follow White Whale through Migaloo to all these IBC chains. It's been like a real pleasure working with these guys. Um, we are actually, I don't know how much you want to say right here, Sebastian. Like we're like working on like a whole next step, to be honest. Like, am I talking about that on the full rip right now or what?
Share whatever you want to share, boss.
All right, so
You're not gonna. You're
basically
not
what's
gonna.
happening is that Backbone Labs and Migaloo's White Whale is going to form a much more official partnership. We have a plan. Migaloo has basically, for all our grave diggers that we're deploying, we're following White Whale on all their hubs. We will be producing a B asset for them. They will be matching incentives on Migaloo for this B asset. This makes us fully liquid in the entire IBC. Every token we produce when they turn on the Migaloo interchain liquidity function, which I think happens in what, like 30 days, I believe. When this happens, a little guy like us who started with nothing from nothing, we've never had a grant, and we built our entire platform with $1,020, right? We are now able to stand toe to toe with Stride, and we don't take anything out of the model, right? We don't take anything out of the model, and we share it with the community, and we're a real yield system. We don't have a token. There's no Ponzi tokenomics. We are just inviting people to participate who understand community earning, right? So this is where we are. We're looking forward, I guess, to expanding to Stargaze. I knew that was coming up. I didn't realize it was next week, but we actually have the testnet contracts already up for Stargaze for the Gravedigger. So we're ready to go.
Yeah, and if I could just chime in real quick, sorry, just to give people who might not be familiar with Backbone just a little bit of context. Their LSDs, they're the first ones to actually tie an LSD to NFTs, right? So that it's an innovative thing, right? So where there's, so every LSD that they issue, so let's take B Luna for example, right? Because that was the first one, is tied to an NFT collection, and you can stake that collection and you can earn a portion of the yield from the NFT, right? So what you have is, NFTs have very strong communities, right? NFTs, they have diehard, it's another level of just community, and then you're giving them this staking, this yield element. You have yield generating stakeable NFTs. So it introduces quite a few dynamics into the mix, and it's a very interesting model, right? It's very unique. It's new. It's experimental, but we like that, right? We like that, and like he said, you have the same grit, in both teams. So it's a good partnership. But that's what they're up to, just to give some context.
Well, you know what else that opens up is when you have predictable yield on NFTs, now we can start to like do like a bunch of degen shit. That's what I'm waiting for. Oh man, I'm really
Yeah,
excited.
I guess we can follow that up since you guys have mentioned Stargaze Zone. If you want to follow up on what they said, and also give us some updates with what you guys are doing and what you guys see within the pulse of not only the DeFi market but also the NFT market. Would love to know what you guys are seeing.
Yeah, sure. Excited to see White Whale deploy. We are wanting and needing an AMM, so it's great to have them on. We have been busy recently. Our most recent development is a one-of-one minter. So this is great for like small batch artists or fine artists. The entry fee is a lot lower. We have sales history up on the site as well. So people don't have to go to multiple websites to have a look at the analytics. There's a revenue dashboard as well for individual wallets. I believe mutable contracts that allows the kind of mint and reveal functionality. To be able to change like an egg into like a little baby and then so on. That's going to be out very soon. We have the Ethereum Community Bridge. This is pretty cool. This is with some community members. So we can take Ethereum addresses and then kind of we could have a user sign an Ethereum wallet and a Kepler wallet and whitelist them for an NFT collection. So that's a way to like bridge over communities from ETH. And so it could be any Ethereum type address on Polygon and Avalanche and Phantom, etc. Also, yeah, we have like a badges UI right now. So it makes it really easy to create POAPs. Everyone loves a little participation medal, right? What else did we do? The splits contract is now up, and I believe in Stargaze Studio. So that allows creators and other people involved in a project to be able to split revenue like directly on chain to go to multiple different wallets. And you can do that with royalties as well. And what else? Oh yeah, we had another contract that is in governance. It might have just gotten out today for a coin flip. That's with one of the developers who worked on ICS 721 and the Pixel Wizards creator. So that should be fun. And as far as DeFi NFT stuff, we are working on something called Infinity Swap, which is similar to pseudo swap. So you'll be able to create individual pools of NFTs and pair them with stars and have them on a curve. So people will be able to route trades to get the lowest pricing that they want. And what else? Timed auctions, yeah, that's going to be a big one. So that's really important for the one-of-one minter specifically, so that we could have a traditional English style auction or like a Dutch style auction. Um, and yeah, we're getting more into NFT DeFi, and that may be where Stargaze is going in the future. But yeah, excited to chat with you guys.
Awesome, man. Thank you for all that stuff. And now I want to pass it over to Matt. He's building the Bitcoin bridge over in Cosmos, which I mean, in my opinion, I think DeFi on Bitcoin is going to be absolutely massive, and I think it's really the only thing that's going to take BTC over 100K. And I'm mentioning price because we're pumping right now, and like the title states, this is a 2023 bull market update. I quite frankly don't give a shit about anybody else's narrative about what's going on in Uganda or in Spain or in Europe and what have you. I'm pumped. I like seeing green. I'm a bull at heart, and it's great to be here with some people that are enthusiastic on the space and are really appreciative of all the work that's being done, man. Because this isn't some space where it's like working at Meta or in Google where you just you know you get on two Zoom calls and then you just you play mini golf in the lobby for the rest of your day. Like this is a lot of work that these guys do, and I'm appreciative that all of you guys are up here. And I see that we have 60 listeners in here. So, I'm proud of that. We managed to get all the subscribers that we had for the space up here. So, yeah, Matt, without further ado, feel free to introduce what Nomic is all about and what you guys are building, and really what inspired you to build something that's fairly unique in the space. The floor is all yours, brother. You can be as technical or as non-technical as you want. You can be as animated as you want. I want to give you as much creative expression as possible, man. Feel free, man. Excited.
Yeah,
Go
thank you,
ahead.
man. Okay, yeah. Well, where to start? I guess an intro. Yeah, so I'm Matt. I'm a founder of Nomic, and we've been working on it for years now. And just to give some backstory to me, I'm basically a longtime Bitcoin maxi that, I've been working in the space since 2012 and like on different projects. I was like an early employee at Protocol Labs, which made Filecoin and IPFS. And then eventually uh, I joined Cosmos really early, like maybe the third employee there or something. So it was before there was a Cosmos SDK, before the Atom token had launched. Like I wrote the code for like their ICO and stuff like that, and worked there for a while. But like, I mean, I guess I've always sort of been an odd one out of like being an engineering maximalist and just sort of not liking Golang very much. And like, I've always liked Rust better and stuff. And so I never really wanted to use the Cosmos SDK, so I sort of went my own direction. And for the past 3 years or so, we've been working on Orga, which is our basically our Rust equivalent of the Cosmos SDK. So it's like, it's still Cosmos because it's still on Tendermint, but it's, a separate stack from the ground up that, we've kind of kept secret and just like in our own little corner all this time. But we're planning ahead to our main net, which is coming soon. And so, yeah, we've just been building the tools, but then also using the tools to build a Bitcoin bridge, which is a lot different than how most other bridges work. So it's a lot more secure and a lot more decentralized. It's not just like wrapped Bitcoin. And so it's like a lot easier to use too, because you can it's all permissionless. Like you can just deposit Bitcoin and you're just sending it to an address and then it shows up as NBTC, which is an IBC token then, or you could redeem it. Like you could go the other way and just withdraw to a Bitcoin address. And so we're really excited about that as a core product. And it's really close. Like we even have it on our stake net, which is just like it's like a limited mainnet. Like you can't send the token yet, just to like, before we make everything perfect. So we're just sort of in like these final stages of ironing out last details. And, months from now, we'll be at mainnet, and then you'll just have Bitcoin in Cosmos in any of these, DeFi protocols that you can do whatever you want with. And from there, there's a lot of other things we want to do too, but that's just sort of the gist of it. So, yeah.
And how has that process been like what have you learned along the way in trying to build something that truly is a one of a kind product, and also like you feel free to describe where you guys are as far as like any updates for Q2 and Q3. Really excited to know more, man. And really want to take advantage of the time that we have here to learn about what it is you're building, man. Because I think like all these protocols up here would be able to take advantage of that, right? Like, imagine having something like ordinals, right? Like not really like the ordinals collection, right? But something where you can purchase like stuff on Stargaze with native Bitcoin, right? Or with what White Whale is doing and all their DeFi stuff, right? Like what if you can use like BTC on what they're doing on Migaloo and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I'm also really excited about ordinals because it's fun to have like some buzz in the Bitcoin world again, and it's sort of also exposing, like the Bitcoin community is so huge because it's always been the biggest, and so people, look at Bitcoin maxis different ways, but there's plenty of, there's like the extreme Bitcoin maxis that everyone sort of hears from that like hates all other tokens, but there's a lot of progressive Bitcoin maxis, as I call them, that are, into these sort of new platforms and new DeFi protocols and stuff, but they still, they still like BTC, like that's their favorite token, but they also look forward to like new technology. And so I think that's just been kind of a quiet demographic for a while, but ordinals is sort of, stirring things up. And so a lot of these people are like more open about, being progressive Bitcoiners. And so that's exciting to me. And so we've thought about, this would be a post mainnet thing, but we definitely could build ordinals, like tracking ordinals into our bridge. So you'd be able to either, like you could go either way. Like you could deposit, like send ordinals into the bridge, and then it's an IBC NFT that you could, trade on Stargaze or wherever. Or you could go the other way and have, an NFT from Stargaze and then mint it as an ordinal and, have it in your Bitcoin wallet. So.
And since we have Soy up here, Soy, is there any way where Neutron could potentially work in collaboration with what Nomic is trying to do?
I mean, yeah, like absolutely. I mean, basically, they're both IBC connected chains, and I think like one of the like more obvious use cases for Nomic would be obviously NBTC as collateral in DeFi, and that's basically what Neutron's all about, trying to become the sort of the DeFi hub for Cosmos. So yeah, I'm sure it's not the kind of thing that's going to happen overnight, but without a doubt, at some point, I'm pretty sure our paths will cross and we'll end up with MBT somewhere usable on Neutron for sure.
That's absolutely sick, man. Yeah, I guess we'll start opening up the panel to some of our speakers here. Dow, I see you have your hand up. What's going on, brother?
Hey, thanks for that. Appreciate that. That was a great presentation, actually. I have a bunch of questions, but I'll limit because I know other people on the panel. But Nomi, can you touch on, this idea that Bitcoin maximalism are more open to, some of them open to innovation, right? In your case, does it feel like the NBTC is more welcome than maybe like Rep BTC on ETH? Are they more open to Cosmos versus Ethereum?
I think, yeah, that's a really good question. I think a lot of it comes down to like not just like these objective measurements of like what's good technology or not, but like a lot of just hate against Ethereum, for better or for worse, because sort of when Ethereum started, like this was back in the days when everything happened on the Bitcoin Talk forums. It's like crypto basically just was Bitcoin, and then there were like altcoins. Like that was just like a little subsection of the forum where like there was sort of nothing notable there. It was just like fun little pump and dump things, but all of them were just cloning the Bitcoin code base and stuff. But like Ethereum sort of rose from that, and so Bitcoin people just looked down on it, and they're like, oh, this is just some dumb altcoin. And I think the difference between like more modern things is just that they're like, I don't know, there's just not this sort of like history of disliking it in general. So I'd say Bitcoin people are less likely to be using WBTC, but there's still some amount. But I think like the modern progressive Bitcoin maxi, like I've been at like really Bitcoin maxi meetups and stuff and talked to people, and then they're like, oh yeah, I also hold Atom and stuff. And that's always been really interesting to me. I think they might not be that loud about it to certain other Bitcoin people, but like, like if they said they're holding ETH or something, then I feel like they'd be more ostracized than if they said they're holding Atom or whatever. So,
Ordinal number one from Udi. Udi very much appreciates not just Bitcoin. He has a very broad perspective on the significance of Bitcoin in the overall environment, and there's plenty of others as well. There's a lot going on with Bitcoin, and the maximalists have a very small myopic perspective on the significance of it in the global financial system. And I could talk about financials and the whole context of everything, but I won't bore everybody, but basically, you can't just turn off the global financial system. It doesn't work. So how does everything piece together? Where does it fit in? And it's collateral, and that plays an important role. You guys could keep going, and I'll chime in.
Yeah, that's a
Noah,
good.
feel free. Noah, feel free to chime into the conversation, man. You make some really great points, and I understand from our prior call earlier today that you're very enthusiastic about all things built on Tendermint. So if at any moment throughout the conversation you feel like chiming in, feel free to do so, man. Everyone up here on this panel is treated equally and can chime in at whatever moment that they want, truthfully. So if you want to interact more with Namik, if you have like a question or another statement that you want to do, feel free to do so, man. The floor is all yours, brother.
Well, it's also whether I could contribute something contextually relevant. My specialty is the overall significance of something from a conceptual standpoint, as well as from an investment standpoint, and from a financial management standpoint. I mean, in the end, obviously, from a development standpoint, you're all speaking about producing products for people to consume, which I'm a consumer. That's exactly what I do. But from the consumer standpoint, how do we maintain financial health? How do we pursue a productive portfolio? Everyone talks about yield, and I love to remind folks the number one thing to learn before engaging with crypto markets is how do you put your money on a debit card, a crypto debit card, because you're going to get APY, APR, whatever you want. Put it on a debit card and spend it on a bill. If you can make $50 on a Friday, every Friday, and you want that to be sustainable, and that's the whole point, to get money on a weekly basis, to pay bills, and to engage with protocols that are growing and attracting capital inflow. And just to circle and keep my point concise, Bitcoin plays a big role in that. There is a lot of resistance to deploying Bitcoin, even to Ethereum mainnet, and obviously the other chains. That's fine. It all is part of the bigger picture. But ultimately, it's collateral, and collateral is integral to the global financial system for creating synthetic currency units. The vast majority of money on the planet isn't dollars, it's dollar liabilities, synthetic dollars, which is basically a stable coin. And that's essentially what a money market is. That's what Aave does, and everything that's being built on all the chains. You deposit collateral and you borrow a stable coin. That's modern banking. Go to Chase. What's displayed on the screen isn't a dollar. It's a visually digital picture, and you could spend that on a credit card, but that's not a dollar. So that's a stable coin, conceptually speaking. So that's the same thing as a stable coin that we consume. So if you borrow stable coins against collateral, that's basically a euro dollar. And, that's a form of leverage in regards. So it gets complicated. Keep going. Bitcoin, lovely. And ordinals. Ordinals is a big deal. Content and memes and all of this is a social trend. And people need this type of energy. They need this type of organization and community. It's a dire lack of it in society. And I think there's a lack of opportunity, and these are the types of things that will pull people together over the next decade. I like to think in terms of 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and these types of things will come from the younger generation, especially as the older generations, as I said, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, as they phase out of the population. Say it politically correct. So we're talking about the things that are important for our generation, and this is meaningful stuff.
I have a question for the rest of the panel, right? Because you guys touched on LSD and then the intersection of DeFi with NFTs, and then bringing like a native BTC on IBC, right? So as far as I can tell, are you guys kind of building those primitive for IBC? If I'm coming from the Eve side of you, so I'm trying to figure out what do you think is the road to adoption for the IBC ecosystem? What's the catalyst, in your opinion, that will bring the attention onto IBC and maybe like a 0 to 1 that makes it like a big picture. This is what Cosmos is bringing that's superior or different than what we've seen so far in other chain. What your opinion is like for the road to success for Cosmos system?
I could offer a very, very not often spoken about narrative in that regard. I'll give a little bit of context. Financial markets are measured in terms of liquidity, which is currency units. In the end of the day, you're engaging with products for the result of acquiring currency units, dollars, because the dollars you could spend at a grocery store. And the vast majority of that activity is on Ethereum. Capital attracts capital. So with regard to IBC and Cosmos hub chains, you need a catalyst. And there is a big catalyst that no one talks about, and that's China and the BSN. The Blockchain Service Network is basically the Department of Blockchain Technology, if you would put it in like United States terminology. It's the Office of Blockchain Technology, and they are fully integrated with everything. Ethereum, Polkadot, Cosmos hubs. But who are they integrated with Cosmos hubs? Specifically, IrisNet. So IrisNet is the gateway to the Cosmos Hub ecosystem, and IrisNet is what China's using for their business sector. And when I say business sector, it's literally the country of China and a billion or whatever people. And the BSN would provide products and services for business in the whole country. And that's, financial products, accounting, so on and so forth. And that all factors in to stable coins going throughout the entire Cosmos Hub ecosystem and doing all sorts of financial activity on chains that do different things, money markets, Eurodollar markets, exchanges, Forex markets, and that's probably the biggest catalyst that I see. BSN, Blockchain Service Network, very few talk about that. That's it's been around for a bit. 2014.
Yeah, they got incubated by Binance through an IEO. Yeah, Iris.
No, BSN is Iris possibly,
Yeah,
but possibly.
dude.
The price has been doing pretty good.
Noah, let me just say, man, it is truly an honor to have you up here. The way you articulate and put this complex data very concisely reminds me so much of the late great John McAfee. You guys even sound similar, brother. Are you John McAfee, man? Are you
I
John
loved him.
McAfee?
He was very well spoken, even while intoxicated, but especially while not. He was very concise and precise with what he wanted to say.
Dude, this is awesome, man. Dow, that was an insanely great question. I knew Soy wanted to chime in, dude. Once we start getting into these conversations, that's when Soy really gets alive. But I want to take the time to tell everybody, if you guys are enjoying this space, feel free to retweet it. And if you're new to spaces like these, my name's Wabi. I host these spaces throughout the week, and sometimes I'll have a plethora of protocols, whether it's protocols from Arbitrum coming together, or on Tendermint, or from the Cosmos Hub. Feel free to follow us and turn on bell notifications. I'll start covering some layer 0 stuff. Egan layer will be coming onto our spaces over the next week or two, and some stuff on Avalanche and Phantom potentially. So if you guys enjoy content like these, where it's more educational and more of like a virtual summit, where you guys have a pretty nice experience where you see devs collaborating with each other, talking shop, giving updates on what they're doing, and sort of like the state of the market, feel free to follow us. But Soy, go on ahead, brother. Go on ahead, man. Good to have you up here again, man. Thank you for coming up.
Yeah, no worries. I was just gonna. I mean, first of all, touching on John McAfee's comments there. Not everyone remembers, but Iris actually made the first ever IBC transaction back in, I think it was April 2021. But I don't really know exactly what the Chinese involvement with Iris is, but it's just a sort of interesting fact there. But kind of go back to the original question, like what is sort of the great unlocker for Cosmos? I think that again, like what McAfee was saying there about capital attracts capital and all this kind of stuff. A big blocker for Cosmos has been sort of this high yield staking culture that persists throughout the ecosystem. And the great big unlocker for that is hopefully going to be liquid staking derivatives. We're potentially going to go from, if we look at something like the Cosmos Hub that has $2 billion worth of staked assets all sort of locked up at the moment that just isn't being used in DeFi. When liquid staking really sort of takes hold, then that is going to increase massive amounts of capital, increase liquidity in the Cosmos. And I think it could sort of be like the beginning of a transitional period for Cosmos at the moment with the birth of LSDs, and hopefully that sort of sparks DeFi in Cosmos, and we can start catching up to ETH.
Just note the distinction between a primitive or a synthetic primitive, stable coin, versus an LSD, which would be more akin to like USM2. So M0 from a DeFi perspective would be stable coins, and M2 credit would be LSDs and collateralized debt positions, like minting a stable coin against collateral, against Bitcoin as collateral, against whatever Atom or an LSD of Atom as collateral, and that's an inflated currency state. So there's risk in those systems, and the entire world is based on those systems. That is what the Eurodollar system is. So that can unlock significant opportunity and capital flow, and that's by definition the creation of money, creation of synthetic currency units. So what's important to always remember is it could all just reduce to the primitive, the M0. That's the trend of all inflated states. So that's something I really like to track the state of, is USDC and what's going on Kava, the total amount of primitive stable coins that are circulating through the system. Looks like there's about $134 million worth of various stable coins floating around on Kava. And I find that interesting. It's obviously not comparable to like an Arbitrum or an Optimism, but it's come a long way, because just remember, I always speak in terms of like 5-10 year time horizons. In 2019 there was $0 on anything. It was like 500 grand on Uniswap. It was quite wild.
It was that and IDEX. It was that IDEX, Switcheo, some DApps on EOS, and dude, I remember my first LP was literally ETH and USDC.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wild. So that's the measure of the growth of the system. Yes, you can measure in terms of M2, but M0 really tells you the overall base level growth, because that's the attraction of the capital. Those USDC is integrated with Cosmos chains. So who would mint USDC from Circle and obviously bridges to get to attract cross-chain stablecoin flows? And that's excellent measurements of potential, obviously capital inflow, but liquidity flow begets opportunity. If you see a 5% increase in total circulating stablecoins, what's the significance of more stablecoins? Financial activity. They're going to deploy those stablecoins, and that means number go up.
Yeah, and it's great that we're bringing these stablecoins to Cosmos as well. I mean, we're expanding the ecosystem and driving more adoption straight into the stuff that we're working on, right?
One protocol at a time, a money market, a forex market, a debt market, a CDP, collateralized debt positions, synthetic dollars. That's how Ethereum mainnet started, sitting at $73 billion, and a good part of that is collateralized dollars, synthetic currency units.
Dow, if you want to chime in, I know you had some questions that you wanted to ask. Feel free to do so, brother. And Swift, good to have you up here, and that was a nice introduction, man.
Sure, I love how Captain is bringing the M0, M1, M2. Like I'm not that familiar with financial explanation, but it's fresh to kind of look at blockchain through that. There's traditional financial views of, well, what do we have in terms of finance and currency on chain, and whether they're derivatives, credit, or actually just currency. Uh, my question, right? Maybe it's just a statement slash question, but I think we're still early, right? Even if you're in Ethereum and you've been there for years, right? There's a sense that so far we've created a casino and it's fun to trade those tokens between each other's DGens, and my token go up, your token goes down, and cool, I made a profit. But what Captain was pointing to was, we have those primitives, right, that can represent finance, trading, lending, maybe expressive derivative or credit. And so there's the hint that we need to get an economy, right? Preferably an emerging economy. We don't want to establish already have, a full access to those financial primitive, but probably not a failed state that can enjoy or benefit from those financial layers that we're building. So in your opinion, right, like it sounds like Captain is hinting at potentially like a Chinese adoption or maybe like an Asian adoption. What is the most likely scenario for us to move away from the casino to actually have this DeFi layer, representing and enabling an economy around the world? And how far are we from that? From not being just speculators, but actually providing real value to someone's economy somewhere around the world.
Well, relative to global liquidity, every dollar in DeFi might as well be zero. Even Ethereum mainnet, and even Bitcoin for that matter. There's arguably over a quadrillion dollars around the planet, and then in that scale, even the valuation of Bitcoin is relatively zero. So, but we have hints, and it's significant that there's permissionless collateralization, which is a permissionless banking, permissionless Eurodollar system. Since the 1950s, the Eurodollar system is responsible for more dollar creation than the U.S. federal government, and that has been curtailed to a degree in the U.S. as they've suppressed regional banking, but outside the U.S. they have no control over it. This is an extension, a manifestation of the U.S. regulation since '08, which has really encouraged the creation of CDPs, which is the Eurodollar market on chain. The potential is, we are very early. There's an incredible potential, and gaming is a big deal. NFTs are a big deal, especially from a card game perspective. Think the Magic the Gathering. It's the same exact thing on chain, and younger generations, I'm 40, and I'm sure 20-year-olds would say, who gives a shit about a piece of cardboard versus a card in Gods Unchained? It's identical, and I'd rather have a digital version of it. So obviously the destination for stuff like Gods Unchained is bigger than Magic the Gathering ever could be, because it's also global and permissionless. So gaming's a big deal, but what are the other financial offerings? Forex, money markets, and debt markets. And that's significant. You can't have the rest of the world integrate if there isn't a financial base layer. And that's the base layer. And that's what everyone's having fun with, is creating these systems that are components of a base layer financial infrastructure: banking, money markets, and debt markets. I mean, NFTs are products. So, someone might take out a little bit of debt against some collateralized BTC or synthetic BTC. That's another one that's interesting. Some folks are working on that on mainnet, and buy an NFT. It's a debt position, and that's cool. And credit cards are popular and they're meaningful. The entire financial system is credit. It was a wonderful thing when I was investigating the concept of a credit crunch and really what's probably coming, and how dependent the entire planet is on credit. If I have collateral, a business or assets, equity, if I have Bitcoin, I need to be able to borrow against it because I expect money to come into my business in 30 days or 90 days. Net 30, net 90 is a common business terminology. So I need to borrow money to pay salary, to pay overhead between now and 30 days where I get my money back. So that's the significance of credit markets. It's not necessarily about leverage. We use it for leverage because we have this little tiny microcosm of a financial system, but it's really about business and permissionless credit where you don't have to get approval from a bank or a credit score. You just have to have collateral. This plays a big role in literally just traditional business.
Animus, if you want to chime in, feel free to do so. I see that you're off of mute, brother. Good to have you up here, man.
Oh no, of course. No, I was just listening to him, and the part where he brought up, gaming driving another force of adoption within the crypto space as whole. I mean, it's huge, right? So DeFi, I agree 100%, is what brings the new layer to the financial institution being decentralized and permissionless. But what's really, I think, driving adoption into the crypto space is gaming, NFTs, and ownership of these gaming assets. You brought up Gods Unchained. I agree 100%. The kids growing up now would be much more interested in a digital version. Why? Because 90% of our day is spent looking at our phone, whether it's social media, whether it's banking apps, no matter what it is, 90% of our day is spent just looking at a screen. So, whether it's physical or not, I mean, you got some people that are, in their 50s and they're like, well, what is actually tangible about crypto or blockchain? Well, most of us don't really give a shit about what is
Yep.
actually tangible, right? Our dollars are digital as is now, right? So nobody really gives a shit at the end of the day. So as far as adoption goes, I think the new wave is coming. People who were NFT haters are now starting to see that there's actual games coming out that can integrate with the blockchain and give ownership. What was it? CS, there was a Counter-Strike buy of a in-game asset for like $120,000 the other day. Okay, well, that just gives more credibility to the fact that NFTs are actually the future.
And it cascades. That's a fact. So that one sale will lead to future sales as people hear about it. It spreads. It propagates, much like a graph or a tree or whatever algorithm we want to bring up. And then one becomes two becomes four, and it's really an exponential spread.
No, I agree. And I guess I'll introduce myself. I'm one of the co-founders over at Animus Labs. We create blockchain gaming. We're a gaming studio. We've been around a little over a year now. We build two projects on Bearchain, two projects on Arbitrum, and we have two projects that we build on Polygon currently. And we're looking to, slowly expand that and find other places where we can, fit and really bring adoption to crypto gaming. And we're having a lot of fun doing it. So, at the end of the day, we're all here for innovation. We're all here to be, the ground layer for what changes the world. And I think we're all in an interesting point in our lives where that change is happening, and it's happening very, very quickly. So I'm stoked to be, listening to you guys talk about DeFi. Some of this stuff blows my brain on how deep a lot of this stuff goes. And it's exciting. I mean, it's fun to be at that base layer, to be bringing the new digital wave of how people see the world and how they view ownership and how they look at derivatives. And it's actually really, really exciting time to be alive.
And you've chosen the right networks, not mainnet. Gaming's not mainnet. Mainnet's money. That's the big money. That's like a $1 billion transaction. You think $1 billion transaction gives a shit if the Ethereum transactions were 10 grand a transaction? So the transaction fees aren't an issue. But the alt L1s and the not mainnet, that's big for data processing and business applications. And what is gaming? It's a business application. Um, something that I wanted to make note. The biggest shortcoming that I think is in a lot of conversations or lacks from a lot of conversations is the relationship between is money. We got to remember that money's for spending, and we have products, and these products are either something to be productive to produce money in some way, like an enterprise, and I model a lot of what I do in terms of an enterprise, or a product like a game, a card, or an item, not whatever to buy and to play. But as you mentioned, it's a market. We own it. We could sell them and trade them and liquidate to get back money. It went up in price. Someone wants to buy it for more money. And we need to emphasize that how to spend that money, how to get money in and how to get money out. And from a U.S. domestic perspective, it's seamless at this point. There's Spritz Finance, Juno Finance, BitPay, and obviously the centralized exchanges. Money goes right in 5 seconds. You get money to a debit card in less than an hour, and you walk into a supermarket and you spend money. And that drives why to do these things. The how to do it allows people to see why they should be interested in it.
No, I really like everything you're saying. I'm enjoying listening to this conversation here. I think there's one thing, like one really big element here that's sort of missing from the conversation. And this has been missing from any sort of classical economist that looks at these things. But it's something like it's a force that gives all of these things that we're talking about value, and in a way where it really underpins everything, and we face it every day. We're like very intimate with it, but nobody really has like thought about this and made sort of like philosophical theories about it yet, or like tried to study it really scientifically. And that force I'm talking about is culture. And so what I
Yes.
mean by that is just, subjective things. Like it's information that just lives in the brains of humans. And so if we look at money and value, all of that is so subjective. So like right now, like the United States has had a cultural hold on the world for so long, like ever since World War II. And so that's why the United States dollar is the reserve currency of the world, currently at least. And that's
Mhm.
why people value it so much, because they look up to the United States as this institution that's so strong and trustworthy, and like any other country, like people want dollars, and even like what you're saying, that like dollar stable coins are still the bedrock of value in crypto. And it's like it's interesting, like when we try to measure this, because we haven't seen it change very much, but now we live in the internet age where culture is all around us. Like the internet, we're like living and breathing culture. And like people spend so much time on social media, and it's basically just a game, but like just seeing your number of likes go up or whatever, like people are optimizing for all these numbers. And like, why
Sure.
is that? It's not for money, it's just for like spreading your culture, like being able to like put information out there for people to like you or whatever. It's just some sort of like innate human thing. And it's the value of any cryptocurrency is just backed by culture. Like it's really just as valuable as much as people value it. So you could say that about Bitcoin, or you could say that about the US dollar or gold. And I think it's just all this comes down to, like, will we, just like random people on the internet working on all these projects, will we be able to build culture effectively, like build communities and make people care about what we're building. And no one's really like solved this yet. Like no one knows the future of this, but like I could imagine a world where Bitcoin is, this cultural system where people just sort of trust it more. Like if this is kind of like the Bitcoiner's dream is the dollar's going to hyperinflate and people will stop trusting it, and there will be a permissionless alternative that they can just switch to, and they can trade all their dollars for Bitcoin, and then that takes over, and that's what people value because it's not inflating, and the
Just
whole
remember, just remember that you're right. There's always everything we could ever think, even my thoughts. There's always more. There's always a bigger picture. And just to chime a little bit, dollars, pain in the ass, big bully. They're irrelevant, and it'll be lovely when something else is significant, and that's really what BRICS is doing in Russia and China, and they're trying. And it'll take a long time because of the total amount of debt in the system. And I don't want to get into like Brent Johnson and milkshakes and all of the fancy macro talk we could do. But skip over the dollar that I mentioned. If you're allocating capital, APY, but it's not like the culture part. Like I got like a shitload of Gods and Chain cards. I don't give a crap about selling them. I bought it because they're awesome. For the same reason I bought Magic the Gathering when I was a kid, because I get to play with them and I get to show people that I have them, and so on and so forth. I bought it for the culture. So what do we have? We have a capacity to spend money, to participate in culture. That's a big deal. But we all know that not everyone, probably the majority, allocates capital, not necessarily to not get it back. So to be consistent with your train of thought, instead of thinking of getting APY in terms of dollars, I talk to my community in terms of egg sandwiches, which ultimately means consumer staples. So if you could allocate $1,000 and in terms of APY of a protocol, and I speak very generally about almost everything, and the APY on a weekly basis will allow me to get 1 gallon of milk. So skip the dollars. The dollars are irrelevant. You obviously need a capacity to walk into a convenience store and swipe a debit card of some kind, so that's the significance of the dollar part of it. But think in terms of putting something in, what do you get out over what time period? And they call that time horizon, so on and so forth. Culture's lovely, but consumer staples and food and rent payments, and that's also a meaningful part of the puzzle. Maybe the majority, we all know the horror stories we hear on social media and Twitter of how much people lose capital. And that's something I really try and hit home about is how to protect capital.
Kayvon, go ahead, brother. Good to have you up here, man.
Hey, thank you, Wabi. Thank you for letting me speak. Noah, it's great to have you up. Thank you for coming on the space. I'm a big
Pleasure.
fan. I've been listening for a long time, and I find your perspective very unique in the crypto space. You're sort of like the Warren Buffett style thinker of crypto, and I've enjoyed your stuff very much, and thank you for that.
Pleasure.
I was wondering, I've heard you talking about tapioca. I was wondering if you would talk about tapioca and why you think it's special or unique.
It's special and unique because of the same thing that Cosmos hubs do: seamless cross-chain. Layer 0 is a big deal with cross-chain messaging. There's a couple of other protocols. Obviously, multi-chain does it to a degree, but Layer 0 has some roots, some strong roots, and some serious capital backing, and some big brains. I speak with them on occasion in a Telegram forum I participate in, and cross-chain messaging and cross-chain stable coins and cross-chain collateralization. It's what Aave does. I tend to, different talks that I could have with regard to where I would allocate capital is different from technology and the significance of the technology. So it's a cross-chain, seamless transactions of stable coins and collateral. That's a big deal. Does it have really good tokenomics design? Sure. Is it the most capital productive? From a return perspective, will it be the strongest tokenomics design in the future? Not necessarily, and that's just being honest. Is it far superior to what Aave has done over these years? Oh my God. Aave's tokenomics, there is no tokenomics. It's basically an uninvestable meme stock. It's like uni token. It's completely uninvestable. It does nothing. But what OTAP does and their options emissions, there's only 3 protocols in all of crypto, all chains that do anything like that. And that's Fix4x from Andre, who's the person who conceived of it. Tapioca is the second to talk about it, and Bunny Finance is the third to implement options emissions. And that's really what cures mercenary capital. Just putting $1 million in and just selling all the yield, selling all the emissions, and driving a token's price into the ground, because options emissions create protocol-owned liquidity and forces the miner to purchase the yielding token. It quite changes the entire equation, as we see with the tokenomics. The fact that Fix4x is still alive is remarkable. It's probably a manifestation of that design. But also Bunny is quite horizontal in price action, and that's a fascinating observation and technical data that I've seen in 3 particular protocols. The horizontal price action, and it's completely expected for a couple of reasons. Quite extraordinary. Aura is the other with the horizontal chart, and Curve, and they do very similar things. And I won't digress too much into the currency recycler systems, the tokenomics of that. But horizontal price action is completely expected, where the sell pressure is there. You have emissions, you have seigniorage, you're creating tokens, which is inflationary, which means the price is going to go down. So the architecture is how to incentivize the purchase of the token to compensate for the inflation. And the net perfect result is a horizontal price chart. And maybe, you can measure in terms of liquidity over the next 5, 10, 15 years. And you could get legs, 10x, 10x. But I don't expect 100x on these types of assets with moderate emissions, 10, 20, 30, 40% inflation on a yearly basis. You need to have some creative tokenomics to prevent depreciation.
So I think one of your core principles is, and pardon me, Wabi, I know you don't like swearing, but fuck you, pay me, right?
Yeah.
So you expect, is the way that you do business is you want to purchase industry that will pay you, but you're not expecting those capital gains returns. Do you expect Curve ever to appreciate, the way other projects might? Or are you really after the cash flows?
Cash flows. But, for instance, Curve, you can't sell it. It's a purchase. And I go for V curve. I'm not interested in the liquid derivatives. I don't want that type of exposure. I don't want to manage positions. I don't want to look over whether something's appreciating or depreciating. The purchase of VE curve, it's done. It's gone. All that money I spent, I no longer have it. And what I now have is an immutable protocol. The contracts cannot be changed. So as long as the electricity is on, as long as Ethereum is functioning, the Curve protocol has liquidity. It's going to be producing weekly income, debit card, mortgage payments, car payments. And that's the measurement of the health of the protocol. And why that weekly payment goes up and down is another story. But in 5-10 years, probably going to be higher just from a CRV USD perspective, and that interest that's going to be generated that just gets distributed to us on a weekly basis. but probably horizontal. Maybe Bitcoin, $5 trillion market cap, and instead of $140 billion worth of total liquidity in all of crypto, you have $1 trillion worth of total liquidity in all of crypto, and that's what you get a 10x. But you can't sell it, which is the voter escrow is one of the other interesting concepts, which is capital controls, which is what everyone talks about with CBDCs. But if you can't sell something that affects circulating supply, that in itself compensates for inflation.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that older projects have a struggle, right? On one hand, you're trying to find product market fit and create value, right? In the case of NFTs, right? Like getting community around it. In the case of DeFi, fixing a problem, right? And then just because you're able to solve that, that does not mean that your token is actually capturing the value or correctly incentivizing all the different actors, right? So it almost feels like you need to have a token economist on your team to really focus on that design, right? And it's a design space that's still new, right? Obviously, people are trying to figure out like what works, what doesn't. Like you mentioned, the VE model, that's what, like 2 years old, I mean 3 years old. So there's a lot of best practices that like kind of show up over time. And kind of we see what fails over time, what doesn't seem to stick. But I think a lot of the older project, kind of stuck because they started with a certain token model, and it's really hard for them to change it halfway, even if they learned that it wasn't the right way. So
Yes.
I think it's the one thing that new project have, right, as an opportunity to actually learn from what didn't work, and to see what works. So I'm glad to see some project on the panel, and hopefully we will see some pretty cool token economics. But yeah, I'm taking notes, man. So I got Aura, Tap, and the other one is Curve. Right? Do you have another one? The fourth one for the road?
Dude, Aura is absolutely
it's killing it. Look at the weekly, dollar per lock token. That's 10 cents. Wild. So for with regard to, I don't like to mention things. People get excited when someone is passionate and they mention a token. But let's talk about Aura for a second. Curve has the largest total amount of capital in all of DeFi. It's larger than Uniswap at this point. Predominantly stable coins, but that's another story. But so how is Aura doing what it's doing? It's exactly what you said. They innovated. They innovated on the VE model on top of Balancer, and Balancer is the 80-20. The 80-20 LPs, the 80-20 VE. So you still have the voter escrow, but you're not drying up liquidity. The VE BAL is liquid. VE Curve does nothing. It's just drying up circulating supply. VE BAL still trades and captures transaction fees. And then the other innovation is the options emissions. So those are probably the three biggest money or financial innovations that I've seen in all of DeFi. Voter escrow, old, dated, plenty of problems with Curve. But what does industry and the history of capitalism teach us is that lendiness, the longer technology exists, the more likely it's going to continue to exist. It has all of the TVL. It doesn't have the volume of Uniswap, but that's another story. But it's entrenched. It has the moat. It has how many LSDs at this point? It's probably 6, 7, or 8. And how many protocols are consuming Curve, sucking it out of the circulating supply deterministically, just at the contract level. It's a constant buy pressure. So Curve is entrenched. So where did Aura come from? Where did Balancer come from? They innovated. Balancer killed it. They're doing about $50 million a day in volume, which is basically way down on the list. But they're sticky. They carved out something very unique because of that 80-20 VE position.
I want to point out White Whale or Animus or Backbone. If you guys have any statements or any questions that you want to bring up throughout the conversation, by all means, you guys are free to chime in. Sebastian, if you want to say something, feel free to do so, man.
Yeah, I mean, not really. I'm enjoying the conversation. I don't know that I have much. much to add at this point.
Probably thinking about coding right now. Like, what can I crank out? What because that's what I think. I don't code Solidity or Viper, but I'm an Android dev, old school from 2009 at this point. So that's my background. Mobile.
No, as I'm listening, I'm just trying to take it all in. I'm not a traditional finance guy per se, but I'm just enjoying the conversation like everybody else here.
That's the fun part. I learned traditional finance vis-a-vis crypto, completely inside and out, and I was determined to understand what was being built. Why was it being built? What's the significance of it? Why does it have real meaning, and what's the value? And there is significant value. NFTs are so big, and these permissionless lending protocols, how credit is so integral to business. It's big stuff, and it's quite overlooked. Everyone's like, what's the big thing that crypto is going to offer? It's credit. That's massive. Permissionless credit is tremendous.
Backbone, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, the permissionless credit is the end all, be all, stop all of crypto. That's why, I feel like Luna, we all know Luna did so well. You could literally go get your Luna, go mint UST, and go shopping, right? You could spend your UST, like you said, in the real world through Cato on a card or Outlook or whatever. A Voyager, I got burned on that thing too, but I was spending my UST on my Voyager debit card in real life. So after the crash, we were like, we need to make an over collateralized token. We need to make partnerships. We need to find ways to give people the power to borrow like this, because this is what the wealthy people do. They get assets or have asset classes. They go to banks, they get loans, they don't pay taxes. They buy more assets to pay off assets, those loans, and then they're left with more assets, right? So I want that same privilege, and we want to open that up to anybody. That's the whole
well said.
Overall.
That's lovely. That's the culture. It's wonderful. Something that traditional finance didn't let us have access to. So when you hear AMM, fine, market making, you can think of the coats on Wall Street and the old images, but it's a forex market. If you have a synthetic euro or a synthetic dollar and you want to trade from one currency denomination to another, you couldn't go to HSBC and say, here's $1 million in euros, here's $1 million in dollars, go make a market. I want 0.02% transaction fees. They would laugh at you. They wouldn't even take your phone call. But obviously in DeFi, you could do that almost everywhere. It's a forex market.
On the Cosmos, you can do it in like less than 8 hours. You can spin the whole chain up, the whole market, everything within a day.
That's right. And people will trade it. People will trade one currency. And listen, it's all currencies. I don't care what Christine Lagarde says. It's not a currency. These are currencies, whether they're good currencies or not. It's another story. You want a currency to have value, and what is value is the wonderful philosophical question we all think of. And the simple answer really is value is obviously personal sentiment. A card, I don't really care the value of my cards, but really value is, can I pay a mortgage payment? So that's why value is subjective, but it's also quantifiable in consumer staples. Can I buy a half a gallon of milk? If I can't, that freaking sucks. But if I can, yay, I got some milk. I could get some cereal.
But then wouldn't that be that value is determined in belief? Because at the end of the day, if you believe you can buy that milk, it's valuable. It might not actually work, but you might need to believe it.
Partially, and it really, unfortunately, is the case that a good part of value is what every store says is value. So the store says you can have milk, but I want you to pay me in a dollar denomination. So that's really part of why the dollar is going to be around for so long, even though BRICS countries are doing what they're doing, and Russia is, they're pushing hard. They're really trying, but it's going to take a long time. There's $2 quadrillion worth of dollar-denominated debt that people have to pay. If you don't pay the debt to the European Central Bank or whatever, the Bank of England, the business goes bankrupt, and then they lose everything. So they have to buy those dollars. So the denomination means a lot. Because I really think in terms of that. Like at the end of the week, can I pay my car bill? It's not the dollars. The dollars just how I pay the car bill. But do I have enough APR to pay a car bill on a monthly basis?
So when you speak about the world debt, right, and you speak about the dollar denominations and all the debt that's owed out there, I mean, is there not a good chance that the debt gets defaulted on, and now that debt can be bought for pennies on the dollar?
Well, yes, and that's a reset.
So I mean, it could be
That
right, and that's kind of what I'm looking at, right? Like, is when I look around the world economics, I'm like, okay, so yes, there's tons and tons and tons of dollars out there that need to be paid back on the debts, but everything crumbles, and now the debt can be wiped for a fraction of what's owed. Then you get the reset. Then you get BRICS that come in, and now
sure.
they have their currency.
And we'll have plenty of currencies. There'll be way more currencies than just sovereign
Right.
nations. That's Bitcoin. That'll be just probably one of the strongest, and there'll be plenty more. The scary thing is that's that's chaos. I mean, that's literally your
Yeah.
store has no food. There is no milk. The trucks don't have gas. Your neighbors are walking around the streets because they're starving and breaking down people's doors, and there's looting and robberies and murder, and that's straight up post-apocalyptic. That's the end of the dollar regime. That's part of the fourth turning that everyone keeps talking about, and that's what they're trying to avoid. The Fed literally interrupts these types of collapses. The banking system, if those banks collapsed, it cascades into other banks because fear spreads and it just spirals. And then M2 collapses to M0, which is the reset you're talking about. And in that process, there goes enterprise. There is no enterprise. There is no shipping. There's no power plants because they don't have energy, and it's chaos.
So what does the new setup look like if that happens, right? Like
Oh,
you get the yuan, and now we're hedging everything against yuan.
I don't know. I'd go to the macroeconomists for that. Yeah, probably. Brent will have his theories. I like the way Brent thinks, and Luke. Those two probably have some of the best theories regarding where everything would unfold after a reset. But they don't want it. Nobody wants chaos. How do you can't have a population killing itself because you can't import energy because you don't have Chinese yuan to pay Saudi Arabia because they won't sell you oil for dollars anymore. And we can't build out the infrastructure in the US in a week. If it takes a year to they print $100 trillion, you can't build out the infrastructure in a week. It still takes a year.
Okay, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
I don't have a macro view like this, but considering whatever our debt is, aren't these other nations in either equal or more debt? Like, isn't our dollar like way stronger in foreign places?
Yes,
So why are we worried about a brick or whatever that these
we're
other
not.
nations are putting? Okay, that's what I was wondering about. I was like, what the fuck has a brick got to do with anything? Who gives a shit?
And what is the denomination of that debt? It's dollars. It's all dollars. All the debt is
Yeah,
dollars.
dollars exactly.
Are you sure you're not John McAfee, man? This is like a John McAfee AI speaking, man.
He's way too sober to be John McAfee. You know what I mean?
Freaking love Noah.
Well, we keep it real. We keep it rational.
If anyone wants to come up and join the conversation, feel free to do so. Feel free to click the bottom right microphone icon and click request to speak. If you have any statements or questions that you want to bring up to our panel, feel free to do so. Soy, is there anything that you feel like chiming in or anything like that, brother?
No, mate. It's like 2:45 in the morning here. So actually, the only thing for me to say is probably good night. To be honest with you, but it's been really, really interesting to listen to John and the rest of the panel. So yeah, thanks for having me, and I'll catch you next week, mate.
No problem, man. No problem. Looking forward to the updates that you boys at Neutron are gonna put out soon, bro.
Pleasure.
Take care.
All right, I'll bring up is the Gambler. We'll see. Actually, there is one person. His name is Jimmy the Otter. I'm pretty sure it's a troll account.
Bring him up.
All right. I'm gonna bring him up once, man. We'll see how this goes. We'll see how this goes. He's been requesting for a while, so we'll see. But what do you guys think of optimism? It's sort of like it's like you have two doors. There's Arbitrum and Optimism, and everyone's trying to go through the Arbitrum door, and the Optimism door is just like wide open. What do you think, Noah?
Synthetics. Synthetics owns Optimism.
And then
That's
there's also
the
Quenta as well. There's also Quenta.
well. What are they using? They're using synthetics. Synthetics.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a big deal. Listen, gambling's big business, and that's okay. Then that's so
Do you
measured
know
in terms of
synthetics
liquidity.
actually doesn't have any collateral behind that stuff? It's just their token.
Well, that's a similar complexity with Luna, but
Yeah, look how that
synthetics.
turned out. Why are you pumping them? Synthetics is a fucking scam. It's worthless. There's no actual backing to their thing that they have to constantly print in order to basically prop up the dozens of synthetic assets they claim that they have.
Yeah, you
Stop
can't
pumping them.
collateralize. Well, I'm not
Stop
interested
pumping
in
them.
But Jimmy, each asset is actually collateralized by the asset.
Collateralized.
That's the
correct.
problem. Exactly. You can't collateralize a damn stablecoin using your own asset. That's instant. That's not instant death, but that's a bank run. That's when everyone realizes there's no value because it could all just evaporate into nothingness. So, from an optimism perspective, the only thing that you could really measure is the total stable coins and not SUSD. You got to measure the other stable coins. And you got to play that type of ecosystem, PvP, player versus player, capital gains, extract your capital, get it back to a greater finality chain out of L2, mainnet. So that's really the way I see Arbitrum and Optimism. There's not much that interests me on the L2s. I know folks are like excited about what Camelot and so there's no volume on these types of exchanges. But what are you going to do? You're trading. Joe is interesting. Joe has volume that's approaching Uniswap, but what does that mean from a capitalization standpoint? Yeah, maybe I'll deploy a little bit of liquidity, but for me, at the end of the day, liquidity gets pulled. I have no interest in sleeping with that kind of anxiety. What's my position going to be like in the morning? If I can capitalize in an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 100, 200, $300, all right, great. Maybe it's more. Maybe there's some capital gains. Maybe it's Ethereum and a token, and Ethereum does 5%. So you're able to capitalize a little bit, but that's trading. That's PvP. Joe's user interface is very interesting. Their iteration on their AMM implementation is interesting. Uniswap, it's useless to me. Joe's more innovative on Arbitrum, and Uniswap is an interesting story. They have a Bitcoin type of narrative to them because they were the first. They're entrenched. Who uses Uniswap? Seriously, who goes on crypto and says, I'm going to just use Uniswap and not use like 1inch or Paraswap or DeFi, the Llama, the meta aggregator. So that's significant. With $1 billion in transaction volume, that's like just entry level people. So it's a demographic observation. Uni is such an uninvestable asset. It's incredibly remarkable. I define the vast majority of the crypto space as completely uninvestable from a risk management perspective. Anyway, hope that helps.
I think that's a fair point that a lot of products have not achieved product market fit, right? They're still looking for it's like solution looking for a problem, right? In the case of Uniswap, I think the issue was around token economics, right? They released the token because of the pressure from SushiSwap, and they just kind of rushed out the token without real utility because they were worried about the regulators that as soon as you add some kind of incentive or capturing the fees, then it becomes security, and they're kind of a big target, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of them, but I kind of understand where they're coming from. They just kind of use a token just to calm the forks and the pitchers coming after them. But real quick to your question, King Wubby. Yeah, I'd say Arbitrum has kind of captured the mad quant that wants to do some crazy options or leverage through DopeX and GMX. But what I did notice about Optimism is there is some really rich conversation around the OP reward, right? Like there are the tokens that they give to project that enhance their ecosystem, even though they're nowhere near in terms of TVL and trading volume. Just that spirit of having like honest conversation between protocols as to how you're actually adding value to the ecosystem, and really honest feedback. Like it's not just a kumbaya, we're all working together. No, it's hey, are you actually adding value? Just trying to get those tokens for your own community, and you're not really providing any long term ways to make optimism more sustainable. Now, the thing that some people might not like, but it's important, is Coinbase, right? Like Coinbase potentially, if they found a way to provide on ramps and off ramps and services from those not so familiar users who kind of still stock into the Coinbase ecosystem and bring them into layer twos, right? Maybe it's the wallet experience, maybe it's higher incentives, but there could be a way for optimism to become maybe more relevant for like less DeFi, DGen type of crowd who already are Arbitrum or Cosmos, things like that.
Cosmos has, I think Cosmos has more significance than, unfortunately, the L2s, the Ethereum L2s. There's nothing that the L2s are offering right now. I mean, literally, it's doing the same shit. And what do you need? More banking services? What, for smaller scale clients? No, you need something that services business. That's what Aave does in many regards, and Aave goes cross chain. So I don't know. I don't really see too much. This degen opportunity everywhere from a capital gains perspective. But my whole perspective is what is significant, what is sustainable, what is real, what isn't going to fuck you over and fall out from underneath you. And in that regard, I have a higher opinion of the Cosmos chains. I just, the integration with China is meaningful. So that's will drive consumption, adoption, capital flows, and capital flows drive opportunity. So that would be nice to see, but I think Coinbase is going, obviously, optimism. I don't know what that means. I don't really find much interest in base at all. That's like Ethereum mainnet is just like, that's the safest place from a capital perspective, not from a tech perspective. If you're building games, you're not building on mainnet. Build it on a Cosmos hub. You build it on a Polygon. You build it on an L2. But the L2s are a bit questionable, like Chris Black talks about. What is their chance of them not being there? Because something, anything, if it can happen, it may happen. So Polygon probably is the place to go from a gaming perspective. Polygon has such a ridiculous narrative, like in a good way. It's the Indian narrative. It's something I've been talking about since, Matic days. Polygon was made by the Indian boys culturally. That's one heck of a population of developers. Do you know how many people in that country are just like rallying behind the boys?
A lot.
Oh my God. So from like a sustainability perspective, you can build on Polygon versus the L2s. Dude, the L2 is like OP and ARB. Oh my God, that was such a vested interest exit strategy. $750 million? What? All the investors are literally they're getting their money back. And that's the point of venture capital. But that from an investment perspective, it's critical to understand who else is investing in something. Who's the whale who put $1 million into a $2 million LP who's capturing 50% of transaction fees that dries up that amount of liquidity? The token goes 300% and they just pull their liquidity and they exit. That's why it's so critical to inspect the vested interest, your counterparty risk, who's your peers, who you're playing against from a PvP perspective.
I got one last more question for no, because I see your hand up real, so I'll be fast. But let's go down the rabbit hole of the Chinese adoption, right? Like the Iris network and probably like the Cosmos financial layer or even NFTs could be where we on board, like a portion of maybe the Southeast Asian market. From that point of view, right? And China being part of the BRICS and BRICS being nations that I think people don't remember, they don't really fundamentally like or trust each other, right? China doesn't trust India.
Of
India
course.
doesn't like China, right? Same thing with Russia. Or Brazil doesn't care about India. So those
What's that?
nations, in a way, seems to be looking for a neutral layer, right?
Mm,
Where no one can, can we fuck each other, right?
mm.
So is that the scenario that you see? Like potentially, this is where we onboard emerging nations, and the financial layer of choice would be Iris because China's already kind of playing with that ecosystem.
Now, you just defined a narrative. Now, all we are as humans, we define stories. The scientific method, you have a hypothesis and you test it. That's a very rational couple of sentences you said. Makes sense to me. It's part of what I've been talking about a couple of years now at this point. So, you know, how that translates to investment considerations is a completely different story. But from a infrastructure perspective, a potential place for capital and business opportunity, you said very meaningful things.
The real gambler. Go on ahead, man. Stage is all yours.
Thanks. I'm from Switzerland, so my English is not gonna be 100% perfect, but if you understand me, I'm gonna be lucky. um, Thanks for letting me talk. So my question is, it's generally finance and also of course with the crypto. And please don't get me wrong, I bought my first Bitcoin back in 2018, middle of 2018. I believe in crypto. I like crypto, but I'm a beer if it's on the market. I shorted Credit Suisse for 6 months straight till to the last Friday. I'm pretty
Nice.
negative. I'm pretty negative against the market. I see a lot of problems, of course, mainly liquidity problems, but there are so many problems. And I saw that in the beginning, what happened with SVB, of course, the pumping in Bitcoin and Ethereum was heavily. It was awesome. I made some nice bucks. But what I saw with time was it, every time when the banks were kind of failing on the market, the juice wasn't really going always into crypto. It was only in the beginning that people went into crypto when they saw that like Wells Fargo, First Republic, etc., failed on the market. They went into Bitcoin, but now it's less and less. Like today, we saw again banks are failing. Um, and Bitcoin was all like the last time I checked was like 1.48% green, right? And the first thing what happened when SVB failed and Credit Suisse almost failed, Bitcoin was up like 6.5%, almost 7%. I think by SVB 2 days over the weekend was over 10% up.
Oof.
And now the pump is not anymore that hard in crypto that I think more the capital is going out of the banks and it's not getting into the bigger banks or into the exchange and in the crypto market. It's more getting into securities or hard assets, right? So
Yeah.
what I'm asking myself is we see problems in commercial real estate. We see problems in car payments. We have liquidity problems from highest standards. Alone last week, 126 billion were withdrawn of deposits in America.
Nice. Yeah.
And now there's a high possibility that they're gonna increase the debt ceiling again in the United States. There is a possibility that they're gonna increase the interest rates by 75 points till end of this year, not decrease or let it flow. They're gonna maybe increase by 75 basis points. I see so many problems, and like I said, don't get me wrong. I believe in crypto. I believe into the work or into the project, like really. But what I feel for the last few weeks is that people are getting scared, like really scared.
Yes.
And so yeah, but I'm asking you guys, like, are you going all in into crypto, or are you also have plan B, plan C, plan D, or like what do you think about it?
Never go all in. What's the meme? Never go full from Tropic Thunder. Never go all in ever. The real estate's cool. You need real estate. You need to live. So the home you live in is real estate, and everything. And you should have equities, but it's all hard to choose. And you don't. Okay, so this is the way I think about it. Why did the juice get pulled from the market? By the way, move the ticker MOVE, bond market volatility. Volatility propagates. Volatility propagates from the bond market to the currency market to the risk market. When there's bond volatility, it is akin to picture a public pool, and there's like 10, 50, 25 kids there and 100 adults. Volatility is a kid shitting in the pool. Kid shits in the pool, everyone gets out of the damn pool. So when you see volatility, everyone's getting out of the damn pool. And then the lifeguard comes by with the chlorine and they say, all right, we cleaned it up, give it about a half an hour. It takes time after volatility shows for people to start getting back in the pool. People getting back into the pool is liquidity. Liquidity flowing back into markets, asset prices going up. So the juice got pulled out of the market because a kid shit in the pool. You'll see it. The second you open up MOVE on TradingView, you'll see it on Friday. And it's a big move. Smacking right into the 10 SMA. Oof. And then you can look in the DXY. So this is very interesting. The DXY is down. DXY is down to 1015. And I've been talking about the DXY a lot lately. So this is we're at a crossroads, just as you say, with volatility concerns everywhere. So the significance that I talk about in my community is I want to own enterprise. I want stuff that pays me on Friday. I want to buy it at the cheapest price possible. So you can't go all in. You need cash. So you can buy things. You could buy culture, and you could buy things that you want to buy, and you want to buy things that are productive. So you could buy consumer staples. So, just don't go all in. You need cash. And if you see something from a technical perspective that's at a discount, that's productive, that's great. If you have extra money, you see a project that you see has great tokenomics, that contributes great culture, that's significant. It's certainly not a all in on Bitcoin story from me that the currency is going to collapse because if the currency is going to collapse, I don't want Bitcoin. I want guns and MREs, a lot of them. And I probably would hope to have an enterprise that survives because that's the ultimate savings for me. Why? I don't want to save money. Buffett's not saving money. He's operating a business, and that business pulls in money on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, or whatever the hell he does from an accounting perspective. The rich people live off income. They don't live off a bank account of savings. So that's our goal, is to find productive income. Sorry, a lot of thoughts from me tonight. Good
It's all
question,
good,
though.
man. This is an amazing space to introduce you to the brand, man, and it's been a wonderful pleasure having you, and as well as the other speakers here. Guys, we've been running for almost 2 hours now. If you guys are enjoying the space, feel free to follow us here at Because Bitcoin. My name's Wabi. I host these spaces throughout the week. Turn on bell notifications. Our next spaces are going to be tomorrow, Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to be having the founders from ZK Casino, as well as our friends from Tier 7 Network, Crypto Shadow, and also Michael, Holder of the Fire. Look forward to that. And yeah, some other things as well. But it seems to escape my mind, man. You know, you get so into a conversation and you have like 1,000 thoughts racing, and really the only thing that you can see are like the next day or two. You can't really look further on ahead, man. But yeah, it's getting pretty late over here where I'm at. I think we're about to wrap up. So if anyone on the panel wants to bring up any last statements or anything, Kayvon, I know you had just said that you wanted to ask like another question or Noah. So feel free to do so, brother. And if anyone else wants to come up for like any last statements or questions, feel free to do so. Go ahead, Kayvon.
Hey Noah, I was just wondering if you had any recommendations for how one would educate themselves. Any reading materials to become more Noah-like in our thinking and our approach.
Obviously, I have a stream Monday through Friday, but Real Vision's great. It really introduced me to a lot of the concept of macro, and then that's going to lead you down the laundry list of Lynn Alden, George Gammon, Brent Johnson, Luke Groman, Raoul Powell, and there's plenty more. Jeff Snyder, Emil Kolanowski. These are just endless content, and it's a Real Vision is probably a great perspective to introduce you to the concept of macro. So, to be successful in crypto, you need to understand money. You need to understand the point of it. You need to understand the concept of value. And we're all seeking for value, and we find value in gaming and collectibles, and we find value in participating in community and projects that the whole panel talked about tonight. Great tech, lovely tech, and you can buy it. You can't. Don't go all in. Don't. That's an old phrase of mine. Don't go all in. Don't spread too thin. And the art is portfolio construction. Excess diversification is something that Buffett talks about endlessly. He said, once you find something big, if you didn't allocate adequately, you probably missed the opportunity of a lifetime. But that also entails shit. There's a lot of risk. And time horizon is crazy notion, drive you nuts. And people looking at 1 minute, 3 minute, 1 hour charts. I can't do it anymore. I look at weeklies, yearly, monthlies, and 6 month charts. It's the only thing that keeps me sane. And don't listen to hype. Don't listen to folks talking about token and buy time. Never listen to anyone else but yourself and macroeconomists and your own due diligence. And never ever listen to someone who's shilling, because they careful with small market cap stuff. It's lovely. I'm proud hearing from folks that are finally getting to a mil TVL. It's lovely. Keep doing what you're doing. This stuff needs to be built. You're experimenting. You're developers. I'm a developer at heart. And there's mercenaries out there. There's predators. If there's a $1 million TVL, and let's say there's 800,000 liquid, and it's paired with a stable on an AMM, and there's like 1.5 mil worth of liquidity. A whale comes along with $500,000 and buys a third of the liquidity. They're capturing a third of all transaction fees. That purchase drives up the price. And what happens when everyone sees the price goes up by a third? It draws in smaller. Exactly. And there you go. The 30% bump from their one purchase of $500,000 turns into 200-300%, and then they exit. So that's why it's so imperative to understand predator prey, literally the biological narrative, and to investigate who you're playing against. And that's from a capital gains perspective. From an enterprise perspective, that's another story that I don't want to ramble on too much. But Real Vision, and I think we could have a nice thing going here with your community.
Yeah, one thing we touched
Awesome,
on
thank you.
that appreciate is the token economics, right? Like if someone wants to really deep dive into DeFi, just study what Noah mentioned, Tapioca, because it's probably one of the most advanced and complex token economics that involves a lot of different actors. So just try to wrap your mind around how those token economics works and how those actors are incentivized in different ways. That will definitely train your mind to think about other token economics. And most of the games are built upon your understanding of how they works and how the incentives actually work.
Well said. They have advanced tokenomics, was some of the most well thought out, using puzzle pieces from other successful protocols. And a big concept I talk about is a federation and currency recycling, but you really need to digest a little bit of macro to process that. But token economics is critical. Output, input, they need to balance, and that's akin to like trade deals between countries. If I'm exporting $1 million, I probably should import $1 million worth of goods to have a balanced trade deal. And then when you understand a little bit of macro, you're like, oh shit, what we're doing in DeFi, you could really put into this framework of how countries work, of how currencies work. And you're like, oh shit, these are currencies. And it's cross-border between chain, and it's emerging markets. And then you're like, oh, what did they talk about with regard to emerging markets in macro land? And they're like, oh, now I'm looking at the dollar, now I'm looking at the pound, and now I'm looking at bonds because that's collateral, and that's Bitcoin in the crypto space, and anything else that you use on Aave or money markets. And you realize it's all the same thing. And then you're able to see, at least get a sense of how to capitalize and currency flows and enterprise. Anyway, hope that helps. I think it'd be fun if I know you guys were trying to talk about particular protocols, and I want to hear about particular protocols. I know the whole community does, but maybe in the future, if you guys are interested, we do an entire space or that's centric around framing protocols in this type of big picture perspective and how it fits in, what's the significance of it. And obviously that highlights why it's a meaningful protocol, but it also gives perspective.
Yeah, that's needed for the space. I think that idea of not just falling for token go up or token goes down, but actually what's the purpose or what's the value, that's a needed and lacking conversation. So yeah, I'm down. Sign me up for that.
We all want to do better. So we all have to find the things that we could change, the things that we could learn to do better. And better is a subjective word, but better probably means participate in a stronger community, participate in a protocol that is making significant progress. I hope everyone's following GitHub. And you see code commits, and then you're on Discord and seeing the community and who's asking what questions and who's thinking what, and what are the tokenomics, what is the cash flow, who's the other people participating, or is there risk, is a whale involved, is someone trying to be a predator and capitalize? And you're like, hey guys, don't necessarily get in, someone just bought $500,000 of this mil liquidity token, you guys should wait. And then now you could be a community and help other people, telling them, wait, hold on, a lion just came into the grass and we're all rabbits, and then hold on guys, don't come out, there's a lion just came in, and that's the biological analogy that's quite applicable, because we all could do that kind of due diligence, just inspecting on chain, expecting the info page like Uniswap.info, like there was a big deposit or a big withdrawal, and heads up, so to speak.
Man, what a space. This was great. Yeah. I appreciate King Wabi. I appreciate it. Great job getting Captain to come up here, because
Yeah,
it was
no problem,
extremely
man.
informational. This was a great space. It's been a blast. It's getting pretty late here though. I'm gonna hop off.
Yeah, man.
I
I'm actually
appreciate
getting
it,
pretty
guys. It's
sleepy.
been a lot of fun. It was great speaking with you. It was great to know learn what your protocols are and what you guys are doing in the space. King, I look forward to speaking on these spaces more often with you. Captain, I look forward to speaking with you up here again.
Oh, it's a pleasure, everyone. I wish you all a good one. We'll talk soon.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys. Thank you all so much. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to catch a replay of this specific space, you'll be able to do so within the next few minutes, I'm assuming. Mr. Producer, am I right on the time, or am I off by a bit as far as like the YouTube upload?
Yes, it'll be up in a few minutes.
Okay, yeah, and we'll share that and all that stuff. So yeah, shout out to the audience, shout out to our speaker panel. Yeah, feel free to follow us here because Bitcoin, and also all the profiles up here. Shout out to White Whale for co-hosting. Shout out to Captain. Shout out to Dow Kayvon for coming up here. Backbone, and also Soy from Neutron, and Stargaze, and also Matt from Nomic. Shout out to him building a pretty cool project, and yeah, and also I forgot who else was up here. Oh yeah, Swift Protocol, and also CJ. So yeah, feel free to check out that replay and all that stuff. God bless you all. Have a good rest of your night, and we'll be back tomorrow with Market Check at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And then my show here on the Because Bitcoin Twitter Spaces, it's at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And yeah, pretty much regular programming after that. So, that's it from me, man. I am gonna get some shut eye. So take care and God bless you.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks for
Bye bye
having
now.
us.
See you
Take care,
guys.
guys.
Great space. See you guys.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.